Your name, sir?
This is Max Obashevsky. I'm with the Pledge of Resistance, Baltimore.
And Max, what's important about tonight's demonstration?
Well, as you well know, I believe it was September 26th, the FBI went and raided 8 houses of peace and justice activists. They had search warrants, they had battering rams. Fortunately, everyone was home because it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and surprisingly, not one person was arrested. Yet they were taking computers, children's drawings, Che Guevara posters, Martin Luther King posters, books, etc. And October 5th, several of these people were supposed to appear in federal court for a grand jury. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. And once all of this came down, the peace and justice people around the United States, Baltimore included, said, no, we're not going to tolerate this nonsense. We expected a complete change after the Bush administration went down the toilet. And what we're seeing, in my opinion, is even worse repression under President Obama. I can't believe it. So there was a call for this week to organize protests around the country against the FBI raids, and the Pledge of Resistance said, sure, let's do it on First Thursday, when many, many Baltimore people are here to light the Christmas tree, in this case our Washington Monument.
I'm going to just swing around, Max, and take a look at that tree, which is going to be lit, I suppose, within the next half hour.
Yes.
Now, Max, what's your fear? Why are they doing that now? Why is the FBI making these raids and simultaneous raids, highly coordinated? What's behind that?
Well, I can only speculate. I'm not on any of the FBI email lists. I can only speculate. A number of these folks had been organizing against the Republican National Convention in Minneapolis. Many of these folks have been working on behalf of the Palestinian people, and many of these folks have been trying to stop the U.S. war in Colombia. So I can only assume that the FBI is going after folks who are getting into areas where the United States government is obviously supporting the war against the poor in Colombia. They're supporting Israel against the occupied territories, the Palestinians, and in the case of the Republican National Convention, all kinds of things came down there where there were illegal arrests, lack of freedom of speech, the First Amendment was thrown out the window. This is just a continuation of that. I think the long-range issue is they want to quell dissent in this country, and I think in many ways they are succeeding, but I can only speak for the people who are out here today and others that are doing this in other parts of the country. We are not going to quiet our voices. In fact, we're going to speak much, much louder. We believe in the First Amendment, and the only way we're going to keep that First Amendment is if people are standing up for the First Amendment.
Name, sir?
My name's Dave Schott. I'm with Veterans for Peace, a Vietnam War veteran.
And Dave, why is it important for you to be out here tonight? We're at the base. I'm just going to turn the camera around. The Washington Monument here in the city of Baltimore. The first monument, really, built to Washington in this country.
Yes.
So why it's important for you to be here?
Well, it's important because this is a gathering time that we normally have a peace vigil here in Baltimore. The first Thursday, it's a time when there are visitations to the Walters Museum, which is just around the corner, and various other localities. And we thought, well, let's celebrate peace. Let's call for an end of war. Mm-hmm. And my sign deals with a big protest at the Veterans for Peace, War Resistors League, Code Pink. Various groups are gathering in Washington in front of the White House on December 16th to call for an end to these wars. The wars in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, which has gone on since 2001, I believe, October. It's one of the longer wars our country's ever experienced. So as a Vietnam War vet, I see a lot of parallels between the war in Afghanistan and the war in Vietnam. Corruption, the WikiLeaks, just recently they mentioned President Karzai's brother, as some charges of allegations of drug dealings. He took $52 million with him to the Emirates. This is in the WikiLeaks that just have been released in the last few days. I encourage people to check this out. Where did he get this money? Was it drug dealings? Was it money from the United States, aid that should have gone to construction of roads, etc.? Who knows? But this war's gone on long enough without the infrastructure being rebuilt. The same situation in Iraq. I think we need to call an end to this. Also, we're here to, because this week is calling attention to the FBI raids that have gone on around the country. I was down in the protests for the School of the Americas, November 20th and 21st.
And that's down in where, for the benefit of our officers?
In front of the gates of Fort Benning, Georgia. It was the 20th anniversary of this protest to close the School of the Americas. We had legislation. They actually voted to close the school a few years ago. They changed the name of the school, but unfortunately large numbers of the soldiers are going to Colombia and Mexico and have been involved in human rights violations. We think we should stop paying $20 million a year. It costs something like this to train these people. Let's look at serious issues of finding homes for people. There are 4 million people displaced in Colombia, internally displaced. These people have been without homes. This is tragic. So the FBI raids, this is another issue. One of my roommates down in Georgia at the rally was a student from North Carolina, and he had been interviewed by the FBI. What had he done wrong? Well, he had gone to Colombia with a delegation, maybe Fellowship of Reconciliation. The delegation interviewed people with the FARC. They also interviewed paramilitaries. They interviewed probably people in the embassy. He also was involved in the Republican convention. Was he targeted for being involved in a protest? I honestly don't know if he did anything that violated the law. I ran into another woman from Minneapolis. 6 people on a SWAT team broke into her house. She had a 2-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old daughter. She doesn't know what she did wrong to cause this intrusion of her house. She also was involved in the protests at the Republican convention. Are people being targeted for protests in front of a political convention? I think we ought to look into this and pay attention to what's going on. We need to protect our civil liberties in this country. We have a Bill of Rights.
That's why you fought in Vietnam, didn't you? You fought in Vietnam, supposedly to defend our freedoms.
That's right, supposedly. So I think we need to really examine the war making our country's involved in and the erosion of our civil liberties in this country. I think a lot of people from various spectrums can agree with me on that. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Bill.